Welcome, everybody, to the Master Passive Income Show. I'm super excited to have you guys here with me as I am talking with Rosa Maria Smith. She is fantastic. She's one of my students who is actually doing a house hack and doing a phenomenal job. And I brought her on to share with you how she's doing it, and how regular people just like us can absolutely do this. So, Rosa Maria, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I am really excited that you have, from the very beginning, you're obviously nervous about everything and then getting into investing. And then now you're literally doing it. You're actually getting the house hack. Talk to us a little bit about how you got started. What got you interested in real estate investing, and then what got you into actually taking the jump into actually buying that first property?
Thank you, Dustin. Really excited to be here and to talk about my journey. It all started with a real estate seminar that I did back in November last year. And that really opened up my mind to just the types of ways in which people can get involved with real estate. And so from there, it piqued my interest. And after that, I kind of started looking for other individuals out there on Instagram, on podcasts that talked about real estate. And a friend of mine actually recommended your podcast. So I started listening in, and from that first episode, I was hooked. You really are living a dream, and it requires work, right? But the beauty about passive income is that there's so much flexibility to living a more flexible life, being there more for your family. And so I'm really I'm going for that direction. I really want to make that happen in my life. And so I decided to start, with listening. Sorry, that's my cat, McGregor.
Okay, and so for everybody watching this on YouTube, because this is on YouTube as well, for everybody watching this, you're going to see her cat jump in front of everything. So totally cool. Let's keep rolling. We're good.
McGregor, he is so funny. All right, come on, kiddo. This is him telling me that he wants to eat again. So McGregor's an avid eater. But kind of going back to the topic here, I started listening to your podcast, and it got to the point to where I was listening to every single episode. Any moment I had a chance, especially when I'm on the road, on the way to go get some groceries, on my way back, wherever I went, I was listening to your podcast. I'm still listening to your podcast as we speak. And so I just kind of kept wondering, I want to do what Dustin's doing. I want to do what these other real estate investors are doing. How do I do it? Well, then I came across a seminar that you had that talked about, an overview of just all things passive income as it relates to real estate. I joined that particular session, and after the session, there was a really good deal to take advantage of your coaching program, and I couldn't say no. So I went ahead and took the leap. Not going to lie, I was a little scared. But then somewhere deep down inside, especially after listening to your podcast, I felt like I knew you. I felt like I knew it's so funny. I kind of felt like I knew who you are, Dustin. And so there was some familiarity, if you will, with taking that leap of faith. And so I went ahead and said yes to the deal. And here we are. What is it, 6 months later? It hasn't been that long.
No, it hasn't. And you've been a rock star. You've been really working hard, and you're a hard worker. So that is a huge bonus when you're actually doing this business. And I 100% agree that what's interesting is I can teach literally anybody how to invest in real estate. The hardest part, though, is getting them over that hurdle. Number one, to think that they can do it or know that they can do it. Number two, getting over the fear of doing it. And that's why I have the podcast, the YouTube channel, and articles, and literally everything else. It's just to get people past that point of realizing that I'm scared to, man, I can actually do this. And so now, full circle, you're actually on the podcast now sharing your story of how you did it. Now, I love the idea that you're house hacking. Talk to us about, now, I know you wanted to start investing in real estate, and you were thinking, I want to buy a property. What made you think about doing a house hacking as opposed to just buying another house or buying a house to have as an investment property?
It's a really good question, Dustin. I have been reasoning with myself on what to do as an adult, right? Purchasing a house is like the ultimate adulting action, right? It also comes with a large responsibility. And so I wanted to make sure that the decision I made aligned to what my future goals are. And so early on, as a matter of fact, early last year, I created a vision board. And on my vision board, one of those goals that I wanted to accomplish was to purchase a multifamily property, or a property that had more than one, unit within the lot, right? Whatever the description may be, like a mother-in-law suite, duplex, multifamily, under that umbrella. And so I at the time, I thought it was so far-fetched to even think about that, because at the time my credit wasn't all that. My credit was at maybe like at a 640 at that time, just to be very honest. And actually it was a little less than 640. I was probably like at a 620, so still building my credit. And so for me at that time, it felt far-fetched. But something deep down inside told me that this was going to happen. And so sure enough, earlier this year, in June, I started really searching for a property, but I kind of was trying to do the multifamily thing, but you know how it is. It's like a unicorn trying to find a multifamily, especially in areas where real estate is hot. And Texas is a hot area for real estate. And so multifamilies are hard to come by. So there got to a point to where, as I was listening to your podcasts, there was one episode that I absolutely loved. And you talked about multifamily investing, but most importantly, house hacking. And that episode resonated with me so much. At that time, I was in the process of purchasing a new property, single family. I was going to go for it. It had all the bells and whistles, brand new. When I listened to your episode, it created a shift within me. I remember literally that day, I was driving on my way back from the grocery store, and I was like, oh my God, that's what I need to do. But then I was like, how am I going to back out of this deal with this new property? Well, I went back to my vision board, and I had a moment of reflection, and I saw on my vision board, it said multifamily. And I was like, I have to follow this. I know this deal is great. I know this brand new property. I mean, it had everything. I had a great deal, brand new, everything, but it wasn't aligned with me. So that episode was so instrumental to where I am now, because it really reaffirmed that I had to get back to what Rosa really initially wanted. And that was to purchase a multifamily and house hack. And you really explained it in such a way that made sense. One of the things that you said in that episode was try to stay away from properties that are 2-story. Try to do a multifamily that is, separate units, even if they're side by side or they're on the same lot. Maybe it's one is in the front, one is in the back. And that really helped, because there was a property that I was looking at. Once I made the decision to let go of that new property, there was a property that I had on my list that was, it was 2 floors. And when I listened to your episode, it really helped kind of take that one out, weed it out, and then look at the other, possible avenues that I had listed. And so it just made sense. Like, it just makes sense. Again, going back to that episode, your podcast episode, you talked about how revolutionary it is, right? Not everyone is doing this, but once you figure it out and you understand the what and the why, it's kind of like, why the heck is it nobody else doing this, or not enough people are doing this? My God. So I stuck to my guns after that, and I just kept searching and searching and searching. And really, I listened to that episode about 3 or 4 times, because I had to constantly kind of remind myself, why the heck did I get out of this brand new purchase deal, right? This brand new property deal. And I would listen to that episode, and yet again, I'd get revved up and energized to keep looking for that multifamily. And so it really helped with patience too, because it's so easy to get derailed. It's so easy to get just, beside yourself and say, man, like, I don't think I'm going to find it. So I can't stress this enough. Your episodes really, really changed my trajectory, to be very honest. They really did, especially that episode. I wish I can tell you the episode number. You probably know now that I'm talking about some of the stuff I mentioned.
I don't remember the specific number. I probably should. You know what I'll do? We'll do this. I will put in a special link masterpassiveincome.com/Rosa. If you type in masterpassiveincome.com/Rosa, or in the description, it'll literally go to this episode, and I will link this episode as well as the house hacking episode, so you can watch them both. So I'll definitely do that. So masterpassiveincome.com/Rosa, and it'll be in the description as well. So I really appreciate you saying that. And I really love how you went through, not necessarily methodical, but you really well thought out through everything. You wanted to see what your goals are, number one, and also where you're going to go. You already knew your goals, and then something started to not derail it, but just take your eyes off of it. And then you realize, you know what, this is my goal. And now I know we were talking before the show that you were so happy. You're so excited. You're an investor. You are a real estate investor. Even before you had bought this property, you were a real estate investor, because this is the direction. This is the value that you put on yourself, not your job, not anything else. It's like what you give yourself. Now you're a real estate investor. So I love it. And I also am really glad that you heard that my experience is a top and bottom duplex isn't the best. I've had both side by sides as well as top and bottom. And I just know that for myself, it's much better having side by sides as opposed to top and bottom. So I'm really glad. And I'm really excited, encouraged that you listen to that multiple times. Here's one thing that's really, really fun. So I got an email. I believe he listens. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But anyways, he emailed me and he listens to the podcast. He said that he listened to my podcast on house hacking. He's listening about real estate investing, and he's literally driving to sign a lease on an apartment complex. And if he's listening, hey, reach out to me again, because I definitely would love to talk to you more about it. But anyways, so he's driving to sign a lease on his apartment, just to rent an apartment. He's listening to my house hacking episode as he's driving there. He gets there, he's about ready to sign, and he's looking at the paper thinking, I could house hack. Man, what am I doing? He literally gets up and walks out. And then now he's in the process. He is actually buying a house right now, a duplex that he's now house hacking. Because he said, man, that episode was just playing in my ear as I was about ready to sign. Like, yes, if I could get everybody to realize that it's possible, that you can do this. That was my biggest limitation when I first got started, was thinking I could do it. Now that I've done it so many times and now have helped so many people just like yourself do it, it's so much easier, more simple. Not easy. That's not the right word. It's simple. There's a simple process, as long as we go through it. Now, when you started, because you're in San Antonio, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. So in San Antonio, I invest in Texas, so I love Texas. There are little nuances with Texas and a little bit of taxes and everything. There's no state income tax and things like that. So they have to do other things. But talk to us about finding this property, especially in a city that probably doesn't have a ton of them. How did you find this property, and anything that you learned through that process?
Once I listened to that episode, I'm telling you, like I said, I'm not even exaggerating. It really created a shift where I was like, nope, I'm going to stick to it. Even though it's hard to find a multifamily property, I'm going to stick to it. Even my realtor was like, are you sure you want to let go of this new property? And I was like, yes. But she asked me a few times, and enough times to where, I would have questioned myself in the past, but I was so sure about my decision that I was like, no, I'm going to wait as long as I need to. I'm going to drive around all of San Antonio, look up on the listings, as many listings I need to go through until I find the property. So granted, again, like I said, Texas is a really hot state for real estate. That's just the way it is right now, especially in this time that we're in. And so right now, duplexes and anything above that are hard to come by. And if they are available, they require a lot of work, substantial work, where you're going to need to invest at least $20,000 and up on just getting the properties fixed up so that they're decent. And so I came across a few of those. And it got to the point to where every night after work, I would start searching, and I literally would spend 2 hours, maybe 3 hours on just searching properties. And so I came across this property, and I'll never forget, it was probably about 2 a.m. that morning, and I saw the property, cute little blue house. I'm like, oh, this is a cute house. And I'm like, oh, this is in a really good area. And one thing you've always stressed is location is a big deal. Location, location, location. And so I was adamant. I was asking for a unicorn, Dustin. I wanted a property that was in a really good prime location in San Antonio. I wanted to have the capacity to house hack, and I wanted it to be within my budget range, to $250,000 or lower. You're asking for a unicorn with those three things in San Antonio. It's not something that you can come by. And sure enough, I remember finding the property, 4-bed, 3-bath property. And I was like, oh, this looks good. Over 2,000 square feet. Had a mother-in-law suite in the back. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go check it out. The next day, right after work, I head out to check out the property. I drove up to it. I even got down, walked up on the, just to the front of the sidewalk, kind of checked it out a little bit, kind of looked at the surrounding area. And I was like, this is a good area. There was a flyer right in the mailbox, copy of a bunch of flyers. I pulled one out and it said the property was on sale for $260,000. That's out of my price range, right? 250 was a goal or below for me. So once I checked out the property, I reached out to my realtor. I said, hey, I really think that this property has some, potential. I'd like to check it out. So sure enough, about that following week, I had a scheduled appointment to check out the property, and I got to check out both lots. Unbeknownst to me, this mother-in-law suite is a unit. I mean, it's a full-blown unit. I mean, I got a big kitchen in here, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. It's a really good sized unit. And it's not considered a multifamily. It's considered a mother-in-law suite, which I'm okay with. And so I fell in love with it. The moment there were so many signs. It just took me back to my grandparents. There were some plants and trees that took me back to when I was a kid at my grandparents' house. And I was like, oh my God. But obviously you don't want to get emotionally tied. So I was like, nope. Dustin said, don't get emotionally tied. Look at the what's in front of you. Like, what are the real raw, insights that you can get from this property? And so overall, I was impressed. I was like, wow, this house was built how long ago? It looks good. There was significant work done to the foundation. The roof is a metal roof, very, very little rusting. It's just going to require adding a high grade sealant. The work that's required in the back house is all cosmetic. There's nothing significant that needs to get done. It's just cosmetic work that the properties need. And so I was pretty set on the first day, but I still didn't put emotions. Don't get your emotions involved. I waited until I got that inspection before I started really kind of thinking, is this it? And so that's how I came across this property.
That's great. So how much did you buy it for?
So we negotiated it down. So it was at 260. We got it down to 230,000.
Wow. That's if you would have paid it full price, that is $30,000 that you saved because you're an investor. Investors, we don't pay full price. If we need to let a property go, we just let it go. We don't pay full price. We make money when we buy the property. That's $30,000. Good for you. What did you start out in the negotiating process? What was your first offer?
My first offer was 215. So I learned a lot from your negotiation talk.
Yes.
You have a course on it on your Master Your Passive Income website. And then you also talked about it in our coaching sessions about the importance of negotiating. So honestly, if it wasn't for listening to your coaching techniques there and your tips, I don't think I would have even thought about negotiating. But I remembered you said, don't be afraid, to give a lowball estimate, and propose that, see what they say. And so, that gave me that extra ounce of courage to just say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and offer 215, see what they say. So that was my starting point.
I absolutely love that. And for what everybody listening, what Rosa is talking about is the real estate wealth builders, how I coach everybody through the entire process from beginning to end, not having any knowledge of business or real estate and building a business, getting real estate, even negotiating, which I love to do. It's one of my favorite things. And just think about offering $215,000 on a $260,000 house. Most people would think, no, I feel uncomfortable offering that little. Like, well, if you don't feel uncomfortable, you're probably offering too much. You want to make sure that you're actually giving room so you can work your way up. So Rosa, bravo. That's awesome. Now, you got this property, really, really good deal. San Antonio. Now, for everybody listening and watching this on YouTube, she's literally in her house right now. If you could hear an echo, it's because she's renovating. She's actually in the process of doing all this stuff. And the echo is because she's in a room that is actually her property. She's literally bought it. She's actually doing it. Now, Rosa, from here, what are the numbers? Like you bought it for 230. What are the numbers looking like, and how much money would you make in passive income once all properties are rented? You did it again, or you moved out and this is just an actual rental. What are the numbers looking like?
Sure. So I can kind of round off more or less what the numbers are to give you guys a snapshot of just how great this deal is. So again, it's 2 units or 2 properties on 1 lot. The back lot is a mother-in-law suite. It's a really good size, just right under 1,000 square feet, but substantial. It's a really nice property, especially for downtown. This is good. Downtown, people are willing to, heck, they're willing to get a 700 square feet, property and then pay, crazy money just because of the location. So as far as pricing, I actually wanted to give this tip because this is another tip you gave us in your Wealth Builders program, and then also in the coaching calls, and that is to look at other properties in the area and identify how much were they sold for. And that was a really good negotiation point. And that's how I managed to get it from 260 to 230. There's a property down the street that sold for 200. It was listed for 285. I'm sorry, 275, completely renovated head to toe, similar to my property. The only difference is the back property was converted into a 2-car garage. And so I use that as a negotiation point to bring to my realtor so that we can negotiate with the seller. And I said, hey, I'm thinking that it's going to cost me X amount of money to get this property to that level. And so I don't want to spend 260. I'm going to go ahead and offer 215 so that I have that extra wiggle room to, put in to get the properties renovated. And so that's really how I was able to kind of get in and reduce the cost of the property by 30,000. So I think that's really important, is to look at the surrounding properties in the area, see how much they sold for, look at, okay, well, how many square feet, how many bedrooms, how many baths, what does it look like? And so that really helped kind of reduce the cost of the property, not even kind of, substantially, right? So that was, I think you would say, Dustin, correct me if I'm wrong, that's extra equity.
Oh yeah, 100%. And when you're also fixing it up too, you're even making more money on top of it because you're putting money into it and you're going to make more out of it. That makes the value up higher.
Yes. So as far as numbers are concerned, the monthly mortgage is $1,600, which includes taxes, homeowners insurance. So everything all included into that price. So $1,600. Now, based off of this area, gosh, the rent capacity for a back property of this size and number of bedrooms, we're looking between 700 as it is, all the way up to $1,200. So between 700 and 1,200. And the difference there is, and I've been looking at other properties are getting rented out, it's all about the features, right? Number one, location, I've got that in the bucket. But the other pieces of it is really to kind of get it up to date, like these other properties that are selling for 1,200, they're renting for 1,200 and people are renting these properties out. So I'm doing a lot of research on what types of renovations can I do that don't break the bank, but can really get me that extra, cash flow, passive income that this property would be great for. So I know off the bat,
unit. That's the back unit.
That is
correct?
the back unit. That's right.
Okay.
The mother-in-law
And
suite.
And Rosa, you know this, and I'll say this for everybody else and also reaffirm it in you, is that you hit the nail on the head. You want to fix up the property or rehab the property enough to where it's rent ready for the area. You don't want to waste, I would call it wasting, but overspending on, like, let's say getting all elaborate, fixtures and appliances and granite countertops. Like, you don't want to overdo the property because you're going to be spending a lot of extra money, which is not going to pay off in the amount of rent coming back to you. You want to do it where it is a good property that's comparable to the other properties in the area and not overspend, but at the same time, make it nice so that people would want to rent the property. So I think you hit the nail on the head. You want to make sure that it's rentable, and for the area, get the best price for it, but not overspend and just, throw away money that's not necessary. So that's the back property. How much would the front property rent for?
Oh gosh, the front property. It'll be easily I can start at 1,000. As it is, easily start at 1,000. I would say between 1,000 to 13, maybe 1,400, because it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, gorgeous property, gorgeous Bay Area windows. Again, we are literally downtown San Antonio. The other part too, Dustin, is that, again, paying attention to the neighborhood, right? There was a property right across the street from me, also a blue house, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, that just sold for $300,000.
What?
They just finished renovating this property. It didn't even last that much on the market. Wow. And it's already sold for over $300,000. So this is a prime area. It's also a high flip area. So I got this property at a steal, to be very honest. I really did.
So if you were putting money into it and getting it as high as you can, as far as like making sure you can rent it for high, as much money, you could probably get $1,300 to $1,400 out of the front. Let's say $1,000 to $1,200. If we just round it down just a little bit, you could easily be getting $2,000 from this entire property. And your mortgage was, you said $1,600?
$1,642.
There you go. And property management fees, which is probably about $100. And then you have your not equity. You have your vacancy allowance. Sorry, that was escaping me. You have your vacancy allowance as well. You also have your repairs, your capital expenses, all that sort of stuff. You're easily, and this is the bare minimum, going to be clearing $250 a month in passive income, which easily is what we always go after. But that's like the low end. If you can get $2,400, you're going to be getting $500, $600 a month in passive income once you move out and do it all over again. So that's the next question I have for you. What is your thought about, now, obviously you just got started, you're in this, but you're an investor. You're always looking for what we're going to do next and how we're going to grow and keep building the business. What are your thoughts about the next property and how soon? And so what's your thoughts about growing to the next property?
Thoughts right now, I would say maybe within the next 8 months. At that point, I really want to start pushing for OPM, other people's money, looking into other avenues to fund those particular investments. So for sure, I would say within the next 8 months tops.
And you absolutely can do that. In fact, obviously in the Real Estate Wealth Builders, I go through all the different types of funding that you can do. In fact, even we have something special on specifically getting private money. One of my students, Charles, he's a really fantastic at, Charles is a great guy. Fantastic at private money. He even gave us his to use in Real Estate Wealth Builders, gave us his entire PowerPoint program, PowerPoint presentation to actually send to people or walk people through, family members, business associates, all that stuff to get private money. And he shows, this is how I'm getting my deals. This is how I get private money. So that's inside the Real Estate Wealth Builder. So make sure you check that out. What do you do? But you absolutely can. Now, would you consider doing another house hack, or would you consider buying a property that's a single family home or, a duplex or something? But what type of property are you looking into next?
I haven't gotten that far just yet. I'm kind of teetering between another multifamily or purchasing a single family. It just depends on the numbers and what really makes sense. And then really what I have the capacity to get at that point in time. I mean, ideally, I would love to do multifamily because that can only expedite my journey of becoming my own business person, not having to depend on a 9-to-5 to get me where I need to go. And so my goal is to get there as quickly, efficiently, as possible.
Let me give you a little bit of coaching right now, because I definitely want to help you out. First question, did you get an FHA loan to buy this property?
I did.
Okay. So with this, what I would strongly suggest is doing a house hack again with another FHA loan, or getting a single family home with another FHA loan. Now, this is what I would suggest is, as really quickly start looking into refinancing out of the FHA into a regular conventional loan.
Conventional.
So you open up another opportunity to utilize the FHA loan again. Because as long as you can use that, because you're going to live in that property, I would absolutely do that all over again. So from this point forward, start talking to other mortgage brokers about refinancing. And actually, you won't be able to pull out much cash because just equity and everything, but getting it out of the FHA loan, and that frees up the slot to buy another duplex, another triplex or fourplex, whatever you can, And then what I would suggest is you've already got that property out of the FHA loan. The criteria that you need to be in there for at least a year is gone. Then buy another one with an FHA loan, a duplex, move into that one. Now you have this one completely rented, probably making you $500, $600, $700 a month in passive income. You have this now 4 units because you bought another duplex. And then your FHA, you're living in that one, renting out the other one. If you just keep doing this over and over again, my goodness, you could quickly grow and grow that business. In fact, just last week, I had one of my students, I worked with him about 8 months ago, maybe a year ago. He texted me and said, "Hey, Dustin, I'm so excited. I'm on to my 4th duplex." And he's going to said other things like, "I'm so excited that you helped so many people out. This has been great, for him and his family." But on his 4th duplex, he's moving on. And we can absolutely just keep,
awesome.
As long as we know our options, and that's one thing I love to do with my students is give them so many options so they can see all the different things that they can do. And with their risk tolerance, they'll figure out what's best for them and their family out of all the options. So that's what I would suggest. If that's possible, keep doing that. But at the same time, Rosa, I think you said something that's very, very crucial. Is it could be a single family home, it could be a duplex, whatever opportunity comes up. Let's say it's a great single family home to jump on, then do that. If it's a great duplex to jump on, then do that. Whatever opportunities come up and whatever means are there for you, you want to move on good deals, because people are questioning, well, right now it's still COVID-19, or it's COVID now. It's no longer 19. It's probably going to be COVID 2021 and all that sort of stuff. But you did this literally during the entire shutdown. I was you're everybody that says, is right now the time? I'll tell you,
yes.
I have one student who's awesome. Her name's Rosa, and she absolutely did this during the shutdown. And you should jump on it too. So do you have any thoughts about, not necessarily about COVID or anything like that, but lessons or any else that you learned through this entire process that you can share to everybody else?
I would say listen to, again, you always want to rationalize, right? Any purchase that you decided to put your eyes on. But what I would say is really decide on what it is that you want and stick to that. Stick to it like your life means it. One thing that'll help is in listening to your episodes on your podcast, I would say listen to those episodes. Go back to last year if you have to, and just listen to these episodes. As you start listening to the tips and tricks and just the people that you interview, that'll help you identify what resonates with you on what you want your future to look like. And once you've decided on what that is, at that point, run with it like your life, like your life needs it. You know what I mean? And then join your program. Your program is awesome. It's so good. It really helped me go from brainstorming to taking action. And so if you're at that point where you're like, I know more or less what I want, do the program. You will be so glad that you did. And, COVID-19 is the perfect time to take advantage. The COVID-19 pandemic, it's been unfortunate, right? A lot of families have been impacted. I was impacted with COVID-19 myself in July. I managed to make it through. But I want to say this, and that is, now is a perfect time. Now is a perfect time to study, to learn, to listen to some episodes on the podcast, any other podcasts that are out there that are real estate focused, and just kind of dabble into those different avenues on what direction to take. That'll help you formulate what you see your future to be. And then for that, run with it.
I agree. And what happens to most of us, actually, basically everybody, is life happens. And things like, not necessarily coronavirus, but life in general happens. Your car breaks down, or, things happen in life. And it's easy to push our goals or our desires to become financially independent, to quit that just over broke job. Or they get in the way, and they put hindrances on us to achieve our goals. And I love how you said, we just got to push, and we got to go after them as if our life depends on it. Just keep going after it, because eventually it's going to work out. You're going to make sure you get it done. And I love also the second point was you are learning through you didn't just jump into this process. You actually learned first before you can actually buy the property. That's the thing that I get a lot of people ask me this question: should I do this or that? They'll say, should I learn first, or should I start, just buy the property? I'm like, don't do either, like do them both at the same time. Like you learn first, number one, and then as you're learning, you're going to realize what a good deal is. You're going to learn
right.
exactly how to find the right deals, how to get other people to do the work for you. And like for everybody listening, that's what Rosa was talking about, was my real estate wealth builders community, where I literally do group coaching. All of my 5 courses are in there. We have the student community, the student success program. Try to do everything I can. I just love seeing students like Rosa here and everybody else succeed, literally seeing that, my goodness, this is possible. Yes. And so when my students buy their first property, just like you, Rosa, it makes me feel like, oh man, I did it myself. I feel like I did it all over again. It's so much fun to do this with my students. Now, Rosa, you gave us so much great insights. And I remember you said something about, you're actually showing people how you do this. You have an Instagram account, literally, documenting all this, which I think is brilliant. If somebody wants to watch you and see what you're doing, how can they find you?
Sure. So my IG renovation page is Rosa Maria _renovates on Instagram, and you'll be able to kind of keep up with me, if you will. I'm doing a lot of the renovating work, the things that I can do, like painting and things like that. So dabbling into a little bit of the contractor work, if you will. I think it's great. So much fun. Kind of put my signature to everything. So feel free to follow, and I'll be more than happy to follow back and support.
Awesome. And I'm encouraging you, Rosa, so your next property, just keep doing it, keep rolling it, even talking about how you did it. It's so great that the people that find me, they realize that I just want to help people. And in turn, I want you to help other people. And so what you're doing is just literally documenting, saying, hey, this is possible, guys. You could absolutely do this. So I'm really glad that you did that. When you told me that, I was like, oh, I'm so following that. That's great. So we'll have all that in the show notes page. Go to masterpassiveincome.com/Rosa, ROSA. You will absolutely get to that page. You'll see that. You also see her Instagram account. You'll also get the house hacking episode. We'll have that in there as well. Rosa, thank you so much for being a part of the show. I am super excited for you, and I look forward to seeing so much more success out of you.
Thank you, Dustin. Thank you for everything. I really appreciate all of your coachings. Oh my gosh, an amazing experience. Extremely grateful for all of the knowledge that you've given.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying so. You take care of yourself.
You too. Bye.
Bye.